Hello and good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Justin Nimergood, your host of the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. I'm so excited today. We have such an incredible guest that I can't wait for you to meet, Mr. Matthieu Mehuys. Today's guest brings a global perspective to creating outdoor spaces that work in harmony with nature. Matthieu is an award-winning author, landscape architect, and the founder and CEO of Paulownia Landscape Architects. Raised on a family farm in Belgium, Matthieu's lifelong fascination with plants has led him to pursue landscape architecture as a way to merge beauty with positive environmental impact. His work focuses on empowering individuals, developers, and communities to transform gardens, farms, estates, and developments into cost-effective outdoor spaces that foster biodiversity, restore ecosystems, and help reverse climate change. Matthieu is the author of 12 Universal Laws of Nature, where he explores the principles behind regenerative design and sustainable living. Through his firm, he creates ecological landscapes where people and nature thrive together, combining aesthetics, function, and long-term environmental responsibility. He's also the host of the Regenerative Design podcast, where he shares ideas, insights, and conversations around regenerative practices and the future of sustainable design. Matthieu, without further ado, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Justin, good to be here, and thank you for the beautiful introduction. That's a good summary.
Yeah, a good summary. Well, a summary at that, sir. So, our listeners, I know they just heard me read your bio basically, and they're like, "Well, that's a lot of stuff." But I mean, in your own words, who's Matthieu Mehuys?
Yeah, good question. So, like you said, I grew up on a family farm. Both my brother and father are active farmers today. And when I was about between 3 to 5 years old, I just became extremely fascinated about plants and how the plants grow and how nature works. And then around the age of 6, I had my first business. I actually had a chicken egg business. I had 20 chicken and I was selling eggs to friends of my family, and that was fun. And I also started gardening, but I completely failed at gardening. I prepared my soil, I did everything. I had some success with radishes. Like if you're thinking of starting gardening, start with radishes. It's the easiest one. I was super proud having my first own harvest of something like at the age of 5, 6. But then I continued doing more, and I just completely messed it up because my whole garden became overgrown by weeds.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was devastated. And actually, I then went on in my life. I studied economics and sciences, and then I wanted to go back to my roots. I did a bachelor in garden design. I continued a master's degree in engineering of landscape architecture. Went into the 9 to 5, thinking like this is it. That's why I studied, and I became kind of depressed. And like the 9 to 5 thing was not for me. I was very limiting in my freedom. So decided, hey, I'm quitting my job. I quit my job. That's probably almost 10 years ago. And I said, okay, I want to travel the world and look at all kinds of projects that are really cool, that are beautiful design, that are eco-resorts, and that are also having a positive impact on the environment. Because that really excited me to see like, okay, we have this huge problem with our planet and the environment. Why? Like we have all the technological advancement. We can get anything at the touch of our screen. But why is our environment still so messed up? Like just in you're from California, you had the wildfires and flooding in a couple of weeks. Like, why does that happen? These were all things that I wanted to understand. And so I went to visit many places, volunteered on farms, learned about regeneration more, because in my engineer degree, nobody was really talking about that. So I continued, I learned about permaculture. Then some other things happened, but long story short, I actually fell ill. I lost all my money from traveling, and I was kind of in a deep
You
place
lost
of my
all your
life.
money from traveling? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because I just I was living like on a really tight budget, and then I got this tropical disease
What?
from going to the Amazon rainforest, which
Oh,
was one of the coolest things ever.
yes.
I got a
heard that's
dengue
wild.
fever. It was
Yeah.
very bad. and even my girlfriend dumped me at the time. So my whole life was like boom, 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 boom. And maybe you can relate to that, or most entrepreneurs have these deep moments in their life. But it was like a moment to kind of rise from my own ashes as a sphinx and reinvent myself. And that's what I did. I started from scratch, and I was like, God gave me all these information, and I grew up on the farm, and I have seen all the things that work. It's now my responsibility to go and do something with it. So, and that's the foundation of my company, Paulownia Landscape Architects, which is now 5 years ago. And so from day one, we said, okay, we want to create beautiful, high-end luxury gardens, but at the same time, that add value to property and that hold all the benefits of having a luxury garden. But we also want to do it in harmony with nature. And through that endeavor, we actually find out that there's so much benefits of doing that. Because if you focus on, like, let's say a conventional luxury garden, you're going to need a lot of chemicals, high maintenance, all of that. But now if you blend it with the ecology, it becomes way more interesting. The maintenance drops, the value of your property goes up. It's more resilient with climate change and the fires and the floods. So that's what we developed and started on with let's say smaller garden projects and some smaller estates, and then we grew that out. Now we're working globally in 5 continents.
You're in 5 continents? That
yes.
is impressive. Wow.
So and focusing more and more on bigger developments so we can have bigger impact. And yeah, that's why also we're in the real estate. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
Wow. I mean, just your whole approach to it is so impressive, I have to say, right? And I can remember taking a architecture class in
nice.
and it was I think it was technically a sustainable architecture class in college, right?
Oh, cool.
And it wasn't my major, by the way. I was a business major, but it was one of my prerequisites, right? Was taking some sort of architecture class. And I remember it was still to this day was one of like the most impactful classes I took, because it just, you study Frank Lloyd Wright and some of the greats over time, and it's like, wow, like they really shape things, especially the sustainable living, builds that are out there nowadays. And I think, to your point, it's more than just being environmentally conscious, right? It's also about bringing peace and happiness for people, right? I know they've studied, and there's correlations between people's happiness and how aligned or attuned they are, if you will, to the environment. So kudos to you. You guys are kicking ass, clearly. Set 5 continents too. That's so impressive.
It's fun.
I'm curious, right? So at a young age, what drove you to this fascination with like plants and nature?
It was my father growing up on the farm. Like, I still remember a day when I was probably between 3 to 5 again, and he had prepared his whole field, and the field looked empty, right? There was no crop, nothing growing, and we would just go to the middle of the field in early springtime, maybe late winter, to go and check on the crops if they were growing. And I still remember to the day, he has like a special knife. He starts scratching the soil, and he sees like, oh, the seeds are germinating. It's like, oh, okay, great. Because it's really important for a farmer that your crops grow and at the right timing. It's very complex, and a lot can go wrong in farming. But that was like, wow, how cool is that? Like, you put this tiny seed in the soil, and that grows into a big crop. And then I started to be like, wow, even like if you take a nut of an oak, it's significant, quite small, and then you put it in the soil, it can become a 1,000-year-old oak tree. Like, how on earth is that possible?
I know.
What's behind that? And that actually led me to always to have a deep fascination and understanding of how things work. From a child, I still remember my sisters, they had like a small plastic washing machine that was electric, and it was like a toy. And I had to know how it works. So I ripped it open because I wanted to understand how does it work. And I never was able to put it back together. That's another story. But I could understand, like, oh, here's the mechanism. And I kind of started to do that with nature too, because I see that so many people are struggling with that, both farmers, people in real estate development, private houses, estates, all the work we do, actually, it's like nobody really understands how nature works, and if you do this, what the consequences of that, and so a lot of like the whole, and I'm actually writing a TED talk on that I'll be giving this year, is like the whole world has become so disconnected from nature through the Industrial Revolution and the Green Revolution. And at the same time, nature works in a specific way, and it has been working in a specific way for millions of years. And so because of the Green Revolution, we lost that connection on how it actually works. So in the work that we do, we always understand how things work, or how the nature work, how the local conditions work. And then we look at what the client's wishes are and how we can bring those two together. And more than not, we find that they actually blend very nice together. So let's say that you want a beautiful, lush garden with plants that are looking great year round. If you're going to do it conventionally with chemicals and pesticides, it's going to cost you a whole lot of money and huge amounts of maintenance. But in our systems that we create, we get even a better result because it just feels better, it looks better, you have more wildlife, and it's like so much less maintenance. Like we created a garden last year. Well, it's been 2 years, but this is like a specific case that I studied the amount of maintenance it took. But it was quite it's not a small garden, not huge, but it ended up being 12 hours of maintenance in 1 year. And that's like a full diverse garden with flowers, edible things, fruit trees, herbs, like everything is there. And it's just 12 hours per year. And if I say that to my colleagues in the industry, they're like, no, that's impossible. That's like, no one can do that. Well, I'm like,
well, I did. I was like, well, I did.
Yeah. And that's what people want. Everybody wants a beautiful, lush garden, but they don't want to be spending hours and hours in it, or like they want to go on a holiday and they don't want to be like, oh, are my plants going to die? I've put all the money in it. Like they want to have more security, and that's what we offer. Yeah.
I'm curious, and I know I'm curious, what was your like favorite luxury real estate project that you've done?
Oh, that's a good question. I gotta think. We did like yeah, it's a fun story to it actually. It's a client in Belgium close to Bruges. Do you know Bruges? It's like it's a historical town with lots of old houses, and they're like it's like 12th century. The first, like it was actually the Silicon Valley of the 12th century, you could say, because there was a lot of business was going on in Bruges at that time. And so they have a house a little bit on the outskirts, also very historical building. And they had just renovated their beautiful house. It was beautiful architecture, really nice features. The house inside was nice. And we came there and like the whole yard was just a mess. The constructors had like compacted the soil. Everything was crooked and square. And so we started to work with them and made the design. And we really, like, at the beginning, there wasn't much greenery around the house. It was very concrete and stones. But so we softened everything up and we created like a really cool landscape around the house that kind of gave the house more of a green setting. And we focused on low maintenance and all that. And so we finished the project. It's like a big estate, but we did like mostly everything around the house. It was quite fun because my client was so excited about the work, and we were like in the completion, doing like the final touches on site with our contractor. And she comes up to me and says, like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of having a landscape architect. I see that you're having so much fun. I wanna do it myself. And I said to her, you know what? Okay, I'll teach you how to do that. And that was actually the start of my course, the Garden of Your Dreams masterclass. So now I teach also people around the world online how they can design, create, maintain their own garden. Even for you as a realtor, that could be an amazing, like for some realtors, if they would have the skill to learn, like go to a property and say, oh, we can change this a little bit, do that here. So maybe we have to talk about that offline, how to help realtors to come up with some creative, innovative ways to improve landscaping with a minimal budget, just to, because the science is real, like about I've seen a study done in the US where two communities were compared, same size, same allocation to amenities, infrastructure, everything was the same, but the one community said, okay, on the left side, like on one community said, okay, we'll just do what everyone does in a development, put some grass and a couple of trees. And the other one said, okay, no, we want to create something unique, landscape, nature, beautiful plants. They kind of went all in on the landscaping. And over the course of the next 20 years, the properties that were in the beautiful landscape, they were valued double than the ones that didn't. And it's the same architecture, same plot size, same amenities. The only difference was how the landscape was created. And then considering that it's the double of the price, so you're talking about millions in this one community, and the initial investment was like a fraction of that. So I think when nailing landscape and doing it right, it can really have a good upfront or a good impact on your real estate valuation, even when you're in a difficult market and it's not going that well. If you can add some more value to your sellers or potential clients, buyers, then you're going to be in a better position, I believe.
That's why they say curb appeal, right? Like
exactly.
the term curb appeal, and it's obviously more than just because you're not on a curb in a mansion. It's more like estate entrance appeal, right? Like,
and it's good that you bring it up, because we're actually working now with we're in the conversation with a estate owner. He's thinking to sell because he wants to move. His wife has a new job in another state, and they might sell. And we're like, okay, let's make a plan for your estate and a kind of like a manual on how to operate your estate. And then when you sell it to the market and you have potential buyers, you can actually show like, hey, this is how you have to operate this estate. Because most people have this beautiful dream of buying a land on the countryside and living like old MacDonald had a farm, and it's like idyllic life. And it's good, it works, but if you'll get overwhelmed by the amount of work there is if you don't do it right. So we're already seeing like how we can create value in that market. Yeah.
Wow, that's so impressive, Matthew. I think you're clearly out there doing some incredible things right now in the marketplace. I would say you're definitely what we would call a pioneer for all intensive purposes. So the world, I'll say, is lucky to have you, a guy like you that is passionate about this.
Thank you, appreciate it, Justin.
So we're going to pivot to our last section for the discussion today. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. They're not going to be related to landscape architecture and all that, but they're make you think kind of questions. So I think you'll enjoy them. So the first one is this, and there's just two of them, right? But is this: let's imagine for a moment it's your last day on Earth, and you can only preserve 3 items in your time capsule. What are those items and why?
3 actual physical items?
Well, I didn't say physical. It could be 3 items. Could be not even physical.
Well, if I had the power to preserve all the trees and the natural habitat and the Amazon rainforest, all those things, that would be my number one, because we really underestimate the value of that. Like even for a property, just a mature tree that is in a beautiful shape, it's priceless. You can't put a price on it. Like even if you wanted to plant a huge tree of that size, it would cost you a fortune, and often they get even bigger, so it's impossible. So that would be one thing. And I have to preserve it. Nature. I think some kind of like faith. So people like having faith in certain things, that people can keep believing in what's possible, if that could be left behind. And then something around that people can do more with their lives. How could we do that? Like empowerment, I guess, for people to do what they are born to do. Because far too many people don't do that.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my 3 things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I didn't want to answer or provide any advice to you. That's why I didn't give any examples. But I'll tell you, I've heard everything from memories to like some really wild stuff. So it's it's pretty interesting stuff.
Cool question. Cool
All
question.
right, and then our last question is this: what is your definition of a real estate rock star?
Yeah, someone who stands out in the sea of sameness. Like if you know what you're good at and you have been given some gifts by God and you use them, then and you find a way to put that out into the world as like a thought leader, or you can also, I think, being a thought leader is probably what's really important, and then that you can also advance your area of expertise for the general public. So by kind of giving more than you can take, I think that's where you become a real real estate rock star.
I love it. I love it. Folks, there you have it. You know, this gentleman has a masterclass, and he absolutely provided a masterclass for us here today, Mr. Matthieu Mehuys. Matthieu, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. For our subscribers and listeners, you know, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so if you just Google my name, you'll find most of my social media platforms. I'm currently very active on LinkedIn because I like the platform and people are very business minded. So I'm like, I want to, like, my time is limited and I want to talk to people that are serious of getting things done. And that's where I've seen most action happening. So definitely LinkedIn, also Instagram. We have some like tips and tricks on how to garden. And then you can always send me an email if you go to my website and you find all the links. It's my first and last name.com.
Okay.
So there you can find everything too.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, folks. Another great episode for you, episode 26 here on the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. I'm Justin Nimergood, your host. We're signing off for today. I'll see you again next week, everyone. Bye-bye.